for tuning in to Planetterrian Daily, episode 119. It's July 13th, 2026. Let's see what the latest research is telling us. A superconducting circuit now hosts the first cyclic quantum heat engine, opening routes to larger quantum systems. Researchers are now altering chemical tags on DNA and chromatin to control gene activity without changing the underlying sequence. The techniques target specific marks that influence transcription rates across cell types. Early applications show precise tuning of expression levels that persist through cell divisions. Follow-up work will test durability and off-target effects in more complex tissues. From direct gene regulation to recovering hidden cell type signals in existing data, next we look at a new deconvolution method. Deep Details performs cross-modality deconvolution on bulk sequencing data to reconstruct cell type-specific regulatory processes. The method integrates multiple data layers to separate signals that normally blend together in standard assays. It supplies higher resolution views of gene regulation without requiring single-cell isolation for every experiment. Researchers can now apply the approach to existing bulk datasets to extract cell-specific patterns that were previously inaccessible. Weizmann Institute researchers combined biosynthetic pathways for 5 mind-altering substances into a single organism. The compounds normally occur across distant branches of the tree of life. The engineered plant assembles the full set through coordinated metabolic steps. Future work will examine yields and stability of the multi-compound production system. The project demonstrates that pathways from separate evolutionary lineages can be coordinated within one genome. Both stories improve resolution of cellular processes. Now consider how quantum-scale thermodynamics might scale similar precision to larger systems. Aalto University researchers built the engine inside a superconducting circuit that cycles through thermodynamic states. The demonstration shows how quantum thermodynamics principles can be harnessed for practical devices. Improved understanding of these processes is expected to support larger quantum computers. The work also feeds back into classical thermodynamics by clarifying quantum scale behavior. The Aalto University Quantum Heat Engine demonstration places thermodynamic cycling inside a superconducting circuit for the first time. This concrete hardware step supplies a test bed for scaling quantum systems while also refining models of energy flow at the quantum level. The immediate next measurements will track efficiency limits and coherence times under repeated cycles. How quickly can similar circuits be adapted to perform useful computational tasks beyond proof-of-concept operation? From engineered quantum systems to evolved natural behaviors, Citizen Data recently clarified how parental care arose in harvestmen. Citizen scientists contributed iNaturalist observations that more than doubled documented cases of egg guarding in harvestmen. Analysis showed maternal and paternal care followed distinct evolutionary trajectories rather than one preceding the other. The rapid data collection completed the core dataset in days. Most people assume maternal care evolved first and paternal care followed later in animals. In harvestmen, however, the two forms of egg guarding arose along independent evolutionary routes, rather than one building on the other. Right now, across countless species, parental behaviors continue to diversify through distinct genetic and ecological pressures rather than a single linear sequence. Citizen science observations more than doubled the known cases of this behavior in days, showing how public data can resolve questions that lab studies alone could not address quickly. One memorable detail is that the project completed its core dataset expansion in a matter of days instead of years. Listeners can watch for similar citizen science projects that target other long-standing questions in behavioral evolution, especially those using photo databases to map trait distributions across continents. From rapid data collection in the field to long-term climate pressures on breeding timing, northern tree swallows face compressed windows. Cornell researchers analyzed nearly 95,000 nests over 5 decades across the species range. Northern birds experience greater risk because breeding windows compress under rising temperatures, even though their temperature responses match those of southern populations. The mismatch affects chick survival and population stability. Continued monitoring will track whether adaptive shifts occur. Researchers worked with residents and officials in 5 UK cities to create guidance for tree selection and placement. The approach balances human benefits with ecological needs under hotter conditions. Local knowledge shaped criteria that standard models often overlook. Cities can now apply the framework to meet both canopy and biodiversity targets. The resulting tool supplies explicit decision criteria rather than generic recommendations. Oxford and Stockholm Resilience Center analysis of 180 major companies found only 13% of commitments precise enough for external evaluation. The remainder use vague language that prevents progress tracking. The study appears in One Earth. Stronger standardization would allow better ACC accountability. The gap between stated goals and measurable criteria remains wide across sectors. University of Sharjah researchers documented ongoing contamination from polybrominated diphenyl ethers in the region. The compounds, once used in electronics and furniture, continue to cycle through air, soil, and water despite bans. The work updates exposure assessments for populations still encountering legacy sources. Further sampling will clarify current risk levels. Legacy sources remain active in multiple environmental compartments. A study released this week attributed at least 2,700 deaths in England and Wales to May and June heat events. The findings quantified direct mortality impacts under current climate conditions. Public health agencies can use the data to refine heat warning thresholds. Expanded surveillance will capture effects in subsequent seasons. The attribution links specific temperature anomalies to recorded fatalities. University of Liverpool and University of Strathclyde researchers demonstrated a method to locate nanoscale defects that reduce LED efficiency. The approach reveals how defects form during manufacturing. Correcting these sites could improve device performance across lighting and display applications. Next steps involve scaling the imaging for industrial use. The technique operates at the resolution needed to inspect individual crystal lattices. Researchers upgraded a classic reaction with visible light to assemble intricate structures in fewer steps. The approach reduces solvent use and intermediate isolations common in traditional routes. It targets molecules needed for drug discovery programs. Further optimization will test compatibility with diverse functional groups. The light-driven route shortens synthetic sequences for several classes of complex scaffolds. From species-level timing mismatches to preserving chemical records of early Earth, lunar science now faces contamination risks from spacecraft exhaust. A new study models how rocket exhaust can contaminate the Moon's most scientifically valuable sites. The contamination could obscure chemical signatures linked to the origin of life on Earth. Researchers recommend new landing protocols and monitoring before widespread missions begin. The findings highlight an immediate preservation issue for lunar science. From off-world preservation to on-Earth toxin monitoring, machine learning now sharpens low-cost freshwater biosensor detection. Screen-printed carbon electrode biosensors were calibrated with machine learning to detect microcystin LR at low concentrations. The toxin, produced during algal blooms, damages liver tissue and raises cancer risk. The World Health Organization guideline stands at 1 microgram per liter in drinking water. The updated sensors offer faster, lower-cost field monitoring. From environmental sensing hardware to mapping volcanic gases, a drone-reflected laser system now tracks eruption precursors in real time. Technical University of Munich researchers developed a drone-reflected laser method that measures carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide concentrations in real time. The carbon dioxide to sulfur dioxide ratio serves as a leading indicator of impending eruptions. The system generates concentration maps without placing instruments directly in hazardous zones. Operational testing will determine integration into existing monitoring networks. Next time, keep an eye on further measurements from the Alto superconducting circuit as researchers push efficiency and coherence limits. That's Planetarian Daily for today. If you enjoyed this, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Narra Network. Links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the Narra Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets, each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen, SpaceX Daily, the daily companion for following SpaceX as a public company, from Starship to the stock ticker. Find every show free at narranetwork.com. Following the long arcs, story trackers on narranetwork.com follow major programs across episodes: Tesla, SpaceX, AI, space science, and more. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.